Okay, hello everybody. I think we should now be live. Just wait. Make sure my mic's on. We should be live now, I think. Just get our little bit of housekeeping that we always do out of the way. Now the little kind of few minutes that we always have at the start while we're figuring out if everything is working. I should warn you, I've had a little bit of up and down on my internet connection today. So hopefully everything is going to be all right and we'll still be fine. Susan says looking good, thank you. Marilyn says good, thank you. Sharon says good. Kay says good. Right. Lovely. I'm assuming that we're all we're up and running then. Okay. So today, our second Threads live blogging webinar, all about Mailchimp. Now, what I'm going to do with you today, I'll be going through probably for about an hour or so, and I'm going to get you. If you imagine point A is not knowing anything about Mailchimp, having your basic blog set up but not knowing anything about Mailchimp, and point B is having a list set up in Mailchimp, a mailing list, and a sign-up form on your site, and to know how to set up a giveaway on your site to encourage people to sign up. I'm going to try and get you from point A to point B in the next hour, okay? So there's quite a bit to cover, and you know I'm serious because I've got my whiteboard with me today. But I feel a little bit like I'm doing some kind of high-powered presentation in a corporate or something. But it's just going to help me to draw out. I may use it and I may not. I think I probably will because I think it will help me to kind of explain a few things visually as we go along. I think especially for artists it kind of helps a little bit. To explain things visually, and also because the structure of Mailchimp internally is deeply confusing. And if I can get you over that particular hurdle right at the start so you can understand how Mailchimp is put together, then it will make everything that you want to do with it much, much more easier, more easy. I'm not sure which is best. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign into a new account on Mailchimp. I'm going to set up the basic settings for the list, and then I'm going to create a sign-up form and embed it on the Threads demo site. So if you want to, let me just, I'll pop the URL of the demonstration site in the chat for anyone who wants to follow along with what's happening there. It's threadsdemonstration.com if you're watching this on the replay. I'll put the link in there as well so you can see it if you watch it just on the replay. So there's going to be, like there usually is with these webinars that I do just on the blogging side of things, there's going to be quite a bit of screen share. And mostly what I'm going to be doing is demonstrating stuff to you. Just going to have a sip of coffee because it's getting towards the end of the day for me and I've had a long and busy day. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to start you with today is creating an account and signing in. So let's go straight into showing the screen. Now hopefully you should all be able to see my screen now with Mailchimp on it. So this is a brand new account that I've just set up for demonstration purposes for this, okay? So what I've done is I've just created an account and I've signed in for the first time, and this is what you see when you sign in for the first time. So I'll just put some basic stuff in here. I'm just going to take you through so you know, we'll just call this, doesn't matter what you put here, put it there, and we're going to copy the threadsdemonstration.com. Continue. Okay, now you do have to put all of this stuff in, and you should, if you have a PO, you can use your PO for this. Oh, let me just check that everyone can see everything okay. Can't see any video stream. Sorry. Okay, so here we are, Kingfisher Cottage. For me, this is Yuli. If you look on my emails that I send out, my address will always be there. So you do have to put this in. Preferably spelt right. But you can get, apparently you can use a PO for this, a PO box. Personally, I don't bother with it too much. United Kingdom. Continue. So that will go into the bottom of all the emails. Do you have a list? Now, I don't at the moment, not for this demonstration, but if you did, I'm going to do that later. If you did have that, you could put it in there. Okay, now we'll just, no, I would say, now you can do this. I'm not going to do it right now because I already know how to work Mailchimp, but you, to an extent at least anyway. I haven't used it for a long time, but I used to be on Mailchimp. If you want to, that's pretty good. Mailchimp are very good at showing you tutorials and getting you through stuff, but I just want to get straight in there. That I would very much advise that you do, because it will then send you out little tips and stuff that you can try. So that's definitely worth doing, so check that, okay? And now, we're probably into Mailchimp, okay? Now, the first thing, Mailchimp is going to take you through this kind of a set thing, which I personally, I wouldn't use this. It's up to you if you want to, but it will take you through their basic, a workflow that they would like you to use. Now, I'm not 100% convinced that that's the best way to do this. So what I'm going to do, I mean, by all means, try to run through it that way if you like. Design your first email and send your first email. For what we want to do, which is really quite a specific thing, I think it's probably as well if you run through it in the sequence that I'm going to show you, okay? So the first thing I want to do before we go any, I will get the whiteboard out at this point. Before we go any further, I've got a camera actually, which I can put on the whiteboard, which might help a little bit. Okay, so it's a bit of a close-up of the whiteboard, but I want to show you the basic structure of Mailchimp, okay? So the main part of any email provider, Mailchimp included, is your email list. So let's put this over here. And this will have all of your emails, the name if you want it, an email address. You'll have a bunch of people in here. Okay, let's say you're doing a bit better and you've got like that many. So this is your list. So when you hear people, marketers talk about growing your list, this is what they're talking about. You're adding people to your email list, okay? The next most important part of any email provider, and Mailchimp is no different, is the sign-up form. A little bit of text, enter your email address. Now I recommend you keep this as simple as you possibly can. We can talk about this in a little while in more detail, but just keep that really simple. So here's your form. And Mailchimp does call this a form, and it does call this a list. And when someone fills this in, they automatically get added to your list, okay? Reasonably simple at this point. The next thing that you need to know about, in Mailchimp at least, is a campaign. Now this is really important. Mailchimp calls it a campaign, okay? Which is basically marketing speak, because what it really is, it's an email. It's just an email that you send out. So that's really all you need to think about in terms of when Mailchimp calls something a campaign and they recommend that you set up a new campaign, really it's just an email. So you'll have a subject line at the top and then you'll have whatever the content of your email is. And then every time you set up a campaign and you select it to go out to your whole list, this is going to go out to every one of the people who sign up, okay? This will be on your website. All of this stuff is done within Mailchimp. Now, there's two types of emails that you can send from Mailchimp. The first type is what they call an autoresponder, which basically just means it's an automatic email. So there's some trigger that gets that sent. Now, I'm going to show you how to set up one of these tonight, today, this morning, whatever time it is for you, wherever you are. And it's the most simple one, and the trigger is when someone signs up for your list, they're going to get sent one of these, an autoresponder, okay? The other kind is what I call an update email. And you can think of this, the main difference between this one and this one is that this one is manual. So you set that up. So say you've just done a blog post and you want to send an email to your list, that the blog post is up and they can see, you want to send them a link. Or if you've got a painting up for auction and you want to send people a link, then you would send one of these. This is really all you need to worry about in the beginning just to get started, okay? That's kind of the bare bones, if you like. So we can kind of keep this structure in mind when we're actually inside Mailchimp and we're trying to figure out what we're doing and where to find things. Let me just have a quick look at the chat. Oh, thanks for being so helpful, everyone, to let people know have problems. Yeah, it's always just refresh the page, refresh. That should always work. You might need to do it. As we go along too, if we have any internet connection problems. Looks all right from my side at the moment, so bear that in mind. If it does drop, just refresh and you should be fine. And also, as usual, you're probably well used to this by now, but if you've got any questions about any of this, just pop a question in the chat and I'll be checking them out as I go along. Okay, so looks like we're all right, no questions so far. So I'm going to go back into Mailchimp now. Now, these things here, this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. This, a campaign, this is like the main menu, if you like, of Mailchimp. This is just an email, right? Setting up a campaign. If you want to send an email, the first thing you do, or to set up an autoresponder, the first thing you'll do is click Create Campaign. Okay. Templates. Now these are, you can set up a basic look and feel for all of your emails. It's entirely up to you if you want to go into this. I'm not going to go into it today because I never use them. The reason I don't do that is because I want my emails to be as close as possible to the kind of emails that you get from a friend. I don't want it to look businesslike and at a distance. I want it to look friendly. So I may change my mind at some point, but at the moment I don't use these at all. I just send text and images. And it also ensures that your emails will be most likely to get delivered. Now lists, obviously this is your list, okay? So you can import, if you've already got people, you can import them now. Say you've exported them from WordPress or Wix or something. You can do it like that. Okay. Reports is obviously just the reports on how many subscribers you've got, stuff like that. We won't have any at the moment, so it doesn't really matter to us. Content is just stuff that you can stick in there, like images and stuff. You can have a little image kind of thing, any files you want to attach, stuff like that. The bit that really matters, that you'll be playing with the most, is campaign and lists. Now, what I would recommend you do to start with is go straight into lists, okay? And then go to the bottom and go to list settings. And this is going to be your main email list, and it'll start off being called just whatever you've named yourself when you logged in, but you might want to call it something else. Let's say we'll call it, for sake of Paul's Art Updates. You can call this anything you like. You can call it the name of your site, or anything you like, whatever you want. Now, there's a few settings here, and we need to talk a little bit about this. You can enable the double opt-in. Now, what that means is if someone signs up to your site, what will happen is they won't actually get any of your emails immediately. What will happen is straight away they'll get an email saying, are you sure you really want to sign up to this site? Okay. I would say, I mean, by all means do this. If you really want to have this enabled, enable it if you want to, but it will slow down the growth of your list, and it's not a legal requirement. It will help you to comply with GDPR laws if you need to. And if you got people from anywhere in the EU signing up to your list, and you probably will have wherever you are, then it will help you with that. Personally, I don't use a double opt-in because it just means my email list will grow less quickly. Some people will drop out at the point where they have to do the opt-in, so I don't tend to do that. Now, enable GDPR fields. Again, you can put this in, but it's not a legal requirement that you do, okay? What you need to be able to show is that people know what they've signed up for, and they've agreed, they've given you permission to sign up to your emails. Now, big caveat here, I am not a lawyer, so I am not giving you any advice on what to do with either of these forms. I'll tell you what I do. I don't have GDPR fields on my forms, and I don't have a double opt-in. The reason I don't do that is because I know that my list will grow at a snail's pace if I do those things. It's a basic tenet of online marketing and forms and sign-ups is that the more options that you give people, the more people you will lose at the sign-up stage. So I personally don't do that, but you must make your own decisions about this and educate yourself for what you think you need to do. ReCAPTCHA you can put in if you want to prevent spam bots, but again, I don't have a reCAPTCHA on my forms and I never get any spam. And I've a reasonably popular site. Again, that's entirely up to you. If you want to do that, do it. These ones, none of these really matter so much. You don't need to set up defaults for anything really. The from name is useful, so I'd put your own name there. I like it to be nice and familiar, so I will have just Paul. The from address, obviously that is important because if anybody replies to you, this needs to be a real email address because you want people to reply to you as much as you possibly can, okay? And these are notifications for you. So if someone subscribes, yeah, you know, I want to know. If someone subscribes or someone's unsubscribed, you know, you can put yourself, if you decide you want to use that, you can put a little note in there to let you know that someone just subscribed. But that's really entirely up to you. When you've come to the end of this, save the defaults, and now you have your list properly set up, okay? Now that's really all you need to do. Now at this point, you're basically, that's this bit here. You have set up now, okay? Really, all we've done at this point is absolutely the bare bones. I wouldn't worry about any of the other options at the moment. And personally, as I say, I keep it as simple as I possibly can because the more fields you have on a sign-up form, the less people will sign up, okay? If you have a look at the sign-up forms on my site, all I ask for is email address. I don't even ask for a name. You know, because I don't want people to have to fill in too many fields. There's a really good chance that someone won't sign up. Make it as simple as possible, and more people will sign up, you know. Why do I use ConvertKit rather than Mailchimp? Partly because the structure of Mailchimp is difficult. ConvertKit is very, very intuitive to use. The whole structure of the way that the software is created makes it very, very easy. You would just create forms, and then when someone subscribes to a form, you get little reports on each form. So you can see who's subscribed to what at a glance in ConvertKit. Mailchimp doesn't work that way. It's much, much more confusing, and you need to understand a little bit about the structure underneath, which is basically this. Excuse me. Now, this seems very simple, but it took me a long time to work this out when I first started using Mailchimp. ConvertKit's very simple. The reason I recommend using Mailchimp is because it's free until you've got 2,000 subscribers. By the time you've got 2,000 subscribers, you ought to be able to start making some kind of income from your list. That's a big enough list to start making some income from. So you can cover, at that point, possibly migrating to something like ConvertKit if you decide you want to then. So that's why I use it, Sarah. You can set your name at the bottom if you want to, by the way. The bottom right of the chat is how you can set your name up if you want to. Okay, so templates, I've decided, as you know, if you've seen my emails, they're always incredibly simple. It's just some text, some links, and maybe an image. And I think that's, personally for me, I think that's best. Every now and again, I think I should really do something a little more pretty and engaging, but then I think, you know what? The whole way that I am on the internet personally, and with the people, with my audience, with the people who subscribe to my list, is I try to be just as normal and straight as I possibly can. You know, I don't want to come across really as a business. I want to come across as a friend more than anything else. You know, that's the level of the relationship I'm trying to create. So that's why I don't use templates. Okay, so let's get into the meat now. So I'm going to, we're going to make a form, okay, and we're going to embed that form onto our website. So here is the demonstration site dashboard. Here's what the demonstration site looks like at the moment. There's very little. If you remember, last month we just set this up and we made a really basic blog post. This is the home page. So, and this is the sidebar. There's nothing in there at the moment. If I click through to the blog post, the sidebar is still there. This is just a default placeholder to make sure that it lays out normally and doesn't go weird. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a sign-up form and I'm going to put it in this sidebar here, okay? So if we're in the main part of Mailchimp now, you'll notice it says I've got one subscriber. That subscriber is my email address, the one that I subscribed with. It always subscribes you to your own list, which is kind of useful, you know. So the first thing we want to do is go to sign up forms. Now, this is going to start getting a little bit technical at this point. Now, I should probably just have a really quick chat with you about this because you really have two choices here. You can just kind of get used to this stuff, watch this video over and over again, download it if you want to, watch it whilst you're setting up Mailchimp, slow it down and pause it while you check each step. If you follow this video through step by step, you will be able to get a basic form set up, but you may hit roadblocks. You will hit roadblocks and you will hit questions. There's a lot of information online about Mailchimp and how to set it up. You can always post in the threads group as well. I might be able to help you there, or someone else might be able to help you there. Your other option is to pay someone to do it for you. There are lots of people out there who understand Mailchimp and can set it up. Personally, I would advise you to go the harder route and learn how to use it yourself, because the knowledge will be really, really useful to you. The better you understand this stuff, the more effective you're going to be when you're marketing yourself online. So I would advise always just to make the extra effort to learn this stuff. It will be frustrating at first. It will be difficult at first, but it is doable. And I think you'll be able to sort it out with a bit of effort and probably a few tears. But just bear in mind that some of this stuff is going to be fairly technical. I've cut this down to being the most basic it can possibly be. So you ought to be able to follow this. Now, the first thing we're going to do, right, is we're going to make a form. Now, we want an embedded form. So we're going to generate the HTML code, which we're going to place on our site. The reason we want this one is because this is the only way in Mailchimp that you can actually get the form onto your site. So click on Embed Forms. And let me just check. Yeah, we're on OK. All right. Now then, I would go into condensed, which gives you a really simple form. So basically, your form will look like this on your site. Now you can, if you want to, you can get an unstyled one, which means that you can edit this HTML. But personally, I wouldn't do that unless you're really used to HTML. I would go for a condensed form. It's the most simple thing that it can possibly be, an email address and a subscribe button. This is what I would advise you use. If you want to add a name field, you can go through here and then you can remove any field that you don't like, you know, any that you don't, you can edit it, okay? and change various things here. It shows me some of my settings down here, all right? But I'm going to go with condensed. Okay, like this. And this also takes out JavaScript, which is going to be quite useful for something else, which I'll show you in a little while. And this is as basic as it could possibly be. I would change that to be something else. At the moment, we don't have any kind of a giveaway sorted out. I'm going to get to that in a little while. So for now, we'll just call it sign up for updates. Okay. And it's got it here. And then all we have to do, just click twice in there and it will highlight all of this text, and then Command-C or Control-C, copy that text, and then we go over to the dashboard of our site. Okay? Any questions so far on this? Oh, I'm sorry, Naomi, if it's a little bit blurry. It's probably your internet connection on your side. There's not much I can do about that, I'm afraid, at the moment. It's probably your internet connection. Or you could try rolling over the video, and you should have settings, and it might be giving you at 420p. Down the bottom here, you can see settings there. Click on that, and there'll be an option there for the quality. If you up it to 720, it should not be blurring. It should be all right. Okay, so I've copied this. I'm going to go over to the dashboard in my site, and this is the bit you need to go to. It's Appearance, Widgets. Okay, now you remember that I showed you earlier on our blog post, it said a default widget. So anything you want to stick on your site, pretty much anywhere, is going to be a widget. And this is the place where we put our widgets for our sidebars, okay? So we need to get our HTML into a widget in the sidebar. And look, here, we've got a custom HTML widget. So just click on this, hold it down, pull it over, and then let go when it's in the sidebar. And it automatically opens up. Now in here, just Command-V, Control-V, we're going to paste that text and then save it. Now for some reason on this theme, that's saved now and it should be fine. For some reason on this theme, it sometimes goes a little bit wibbly, and if I go off this page, it'll tell me that I haven't saved it, but I have, because if I look here now, that's how simple it is to get a really basic sign-up form on your site. Okay, so I could fill in an email address on this now and subscribe, and I would be added to the list. Okay, so, and that will be everywhere. So if we go to the home page, it's there too. Anywhere that there's a sidebar in your theme, this will be there. So there's not too many clicks involved in that. You don't actually have to edit any of the HTML. You can if you want to, but I've tried to show you the most simple way possible that you can get a sign-up form on your site, okay? So that now it's basically there. We've done the most basic thing. There's a couple of things that we want to change though. One of the things that, an awkward thing about this that you'll find is that if someone actually fills in that subscription form, they'll get taken to a rather ugly page on Mailchimp's own site to say, well done, you've subscribed, you can unsubscribe at any time, and here's a link back to the website. It's a very circuitous route, and it's taking them off your site over to Mailchimp, which we really don't want to do, okay? What we want to happen, actually, is for people that ideally what you want is for people when they subscribe to be taken to a thank you form on your own site, okay? That does take a little bit more setting up. And the best way to do that, it will still use the same code for the form, that's simple enough. If we have a subscribe form on a subscribe page, I'll take you to that in a minute. But what I want to happen is that when someone subscribes to this form, we create a nice thank you page on our own site. And that is, okay, is it better? Oh, good. I'm glad, Naomi, it's working now, okay. So let me take, now this bit is really, I mean, you could thrash around in Mailchimp forever trying to find out how to do this. This is one of the reasons I find Mailchimp slightly difficult to use, but I'm gonna show you how to do it now, okay? So You can't do it in here. You know, you would think that there would be an option in here to make sure that this goes somewhere else, you know, that when your list is done. It isn't. You have to go back to sign up forms at the top. Come on, take me to the main menu. Okay, and we need to go into the form builder this time. Even though we're not going to build one of these forms, we need to go in here because it gives us, if you see this drop down here, first off, it gives you a form that you can build. We don't want this form, okay? And I want this to go away. I really wish they'd stop doing that. But what we want to do is the confirmation thank you page. We want to change this, okay? Instead of showing this thank you page, this is what you would see ordinarily, okay? And it would be on Mailchimp's own site. Instead of showing this thank you page, send subscribers to another URL. So we need to put the URL in here, but we don't currently have that page, okay? So we'll go into pages, add new. This is a funny thing about this. I've got a fairly basic theme, but for some reason it thinks that that's not been saved, even though it has. We'll create a new page and we'll call it, and then you could just call it subscribe, but it's nicer to have it sign up for updates. Oh, sorry, I'm getting confused. This is the thank you page. We'll call this thanks for subscribing. And then you can put whatever content you like. This is an ordinary page, okay? So you can put anything you like in here. A really good thing to put in here is to let people know every time I post a blog update, I'll send you an email to let you know. If you're doing auctions, you could say, I'll also email you when I have a new painting for sale. Okay, so that's kind of, just basically use this to kind of start to build a relationship. You know, I'm always talking about the importance of building relationships with people. Don't be kind of businessy here. Make this kind of really friendly, you know. Just put some stuff in there, okay? And then we're going to publish the page. Yes, we want to publish it. I don't know why WordPress always asks you twice if you actually want to publish it. Okay, and then we want to have a look at our page. So I'll open it up in a new tab, right? So here's the page, okay. And I need to grab the URL of this page. So just click up in the browser bar there and it will give you the URL. Copy that, Command C, Control C, however you want to do it. Go back to Mailchimp and pop that in there and click Save. Now, if someone subscribes over here, let's say we go back to the home page, go into the blog post, someone decides they like the post and they want to subscribe. It's taken us to the thank you page on our own site, and that's exactly what we want to happen. You know, that's a really nice thing. It's way, way better than sending someone elsewhere. Okay. It keeps people on your site, and it means that, you know, if you've got a menu, which I obviously have really basic pages here, anything else is already there. You can use this page for absolutely anything. Incidentally, you can also use this page to offer someone a download if you're doing it if you've given them something as a giveaway, you know. So that's just a really nice and a much neater way to handle people signing up to your site. If they go off to Mailchimp, there's a chance that you will lose them at that point, that they will get confused and find themselves on the Mailchimp site. I strongly recommend that you set up a thank you page like that and keep it on your own site. And while we're on that, the next thing I'll do is set up a subscribe page on the blog itself, and we'll add a link in the menu to that subscribe page, which is always a useful thing to have as well. Okay, so let's go. This time we want to be back on the site. We want to be in the dashboard, okay? And we want to make another new page. So we go pages, add new. And we're just going to call this page. I could call it subscribe, but call it whatever you like. You don't have to put the exclamation mark in. Now what we want in here is our form, okay? Now we can use the same form, but what you need to do is you need to go in here. If you just paste it in here, it won't work, the HTML. You need to go over here and go into the code editor. It looks almost the same, except now we can put HTML in here. Unfortunately, it does mean we need to go back to sign up forms, and we need to make this again. This is one of the frustrating things about Mailchimp. Why it can't just save that form so it's always there when we want it, I don't know. No, it would be just so useful, you know. You can actually, for this one we probably won't need it because we've got it in the page title, so we just have this. It's like, no, go away. It's the most simple kind of form we could ever have. It hasn't even got a title. Again, highlight that, just click a couple of times in there, Command C, Control C, go over to this page and paste it in, okay? Just paste it in and then publish the page. We'll view the page and see what we've got. Simple. Nice little, annoyingly, this is one of the annoying things sometimes about doing stuff like this in WordPress, is that it's also over here as well. And you probably won't want that there. There are ways to get rid of that, but I'm not going to confuse things by going into it right now. If enough people are curious about setting up different sidebars, which can be a really useful thing from a marketing point of view, there's a plugin that will let you do different sidebars per page. But we'll go into that another time. But you've basically got, this is the same form almost as this one. It just doesn't have the title, but the same thing will happen. If I click subscribe, it'll take me to the thank you, okay? So what we then want to do is we go into appearance, menus, because we're going to add a subscribe link to the menu. So we'll say sign up for updates. It's this page that we want, okay? And just add to menu. Now you can change the text of that if you want to be something else. You might just want to call it, or you might want to call it, you know, just subscribe. You might want to call it something a little more tempting, like learn with me or join me or something like that. Let's talk. Let's call it Let's Talk. Because I think people see subscribe links and they're like, oh yeah, whatever. You know, something like this is going to look at least a little bit different. And then we save the menu. And we should now see when we go back to the site, we've got a new link, Let's Talk, which takes us to the subscribe page, okay? So that's really the most simple way possible. I've taken you through signing up for Mailchimp, when you get in, what to do when you get in there, creating a form and sticking it on your site. You've also made a thank you page at this point, and you've made a subscribe page, and you've added it to your menu. So a lot of the basic tasks that you're going to need to build an email list are pretty much covered there. Let me have a quick look. Could you copy the HTML code for the widget, Kay says. Yes, you absolutely could. You could copy the HTML from the widget just as easily if you wanted to. I did it that way around because I wanted to take the title out. And it's pretty easy just to generate some more HTML if you want to. But yeah, absolutely, just copy it from the widget and it will work just the same. That code is this bit here. And it will always work the same, no matter where you put it. Someone fills in that form, it will always add them automatically to your list. Now, if you have your GDPR fields and all that kind of stuff, that's going to add a lot of stuff to your form. Your form obviously is going to be bigger and more complex. Like I say, you make your own decisions about what you want to do with that. The GDPR laws were put in place not to stop people like us contacting people who sign up for our list. They were put in place to stop spammers, okay? And we're not spamming. So again, this isn't legal advice. This is my own personal opinion. I very much doubt that anyone is going to come after me because they think that my little website isn't complying properly with GDPR laws. But you must make your own decision about that, okay? I'm not advising you, I'm just telling you what I do. I'm covering myself, obviously, because I don't want to get into trouble about it. It's easy to change your name. Is it easy to change your name on a new website? I'm thinking if I start this process and I expect to make a lot of mistakes, it would be better to be incognito until I'm confident. I wouldn't, to be honest with you. I mean, it's easy to start again in Mailchimp. I mean, it's free to sign up, doesn't cost you anything. So you could just junk that account, you know, and then start up a new account. I mean, by all means, use a Gmail address or something like that. I think you can set them up with Gmail addresses, although I'm not sure, you know. But just use some other email than the one you want to use from your site. Just start a Mailchimp account and play with it. You know, you can just start another WordPress site if you like, and if you've already got a hosting account, and play with it. You know, use one as a sandbox just to play with, and then have a real one. If you were going to do it, that's how I would do it. I would test things out on your kind of your sandbox one first, and then put it live. It means managing two lots of everything, but you know, if you feel you need that kind of the distance from your live stuff, don't worry about it. My personal advice would be just do it, put it live, because you learn really fast that way. When you make a mistake and you know some people have seen it, you're like, you've learned that lesson really, really well. I've made countless mistakes. I put all kinds of daft stuff and broken things on my site. There's probably still broken stuff up there, you know. Personally, I don't think you should worry too much about that, especially when you're at the beginning, you know, and you don't really have any subscribers, or you don't have very many. People will be very forgiving about you getting stuff wrong, I find. I wouldn't worry about that too much. Yeah, that's the Suzanne. Yeah, it's all that legal stuff that goes at the bottom of the form, like saying yes, no. I'm putting my email address in because I really do want you to send me an email. It's like, well, that's why you're putting your email address in, isn't it? You know, seems pretty obvious to me. But all of that stuff, you know, it's about how you're going to manage the data, you know, all those kind of things. So yeah, it's that stuff at the bottom. If you want to add your email list, you have to make a text file to download into Mailchimp. Oh, if you want to import them, no, there's an import option. Within Mailchimp, there's an import option. I don't think I've ever used it. What they may do is demand that you use, sorry, this is Marilyn has said that, they may demand that you use a double opt-in. The last time I used Mailchimp, I think if you were going to import it, no, I did import people because I started off at first just running a distribution list in Outlook Express, you know, and just emailing people from my computer. I didn't have, when I first set up my Learning to See blog, I didn't have an email provider. And if I remember right, they required me to do a double opt-in on everybody, and there was about 500 people on everybody that I wanted to import into Mailchimp, and I lost like half, maybe more, because people are just confused by the double opt-in. But there's an import. If you go into lists, I think it's in there, there's an import thing. You will want them as a CSV. I think it will upload them as a CSV. All the email providers have a way to do that, yeah. And I think it's the import. Leap of faith. Yeah, just go for it, you know. It's the best way to learn. It's when you think about it, though, that's what kids do all the time. At some point as we get older, we start to get very worried about how we're projecting ourselves to the outside world. And I think sometimes it can, for the kind of stuff that we're doing here, it can hold us back a little bit. When we're kids, we don't mind having a go at something. We don't mind if we pronounce a word wrong. No one's laughed at us yet in our lives, or at least if they did, we didn't get why. You know, we don't mind if we make mistakes. We'll just have a bash at stuff when we're a kid. And I think you need that mindset when you're making a painting too, right? If you look at this a little bit like making a painting, you've got to take a flyer, you know. For me, every time I start a new painting feels like jumping off a cliff. And it is slightly unnerving at times, and so is this stuff. But I think you'll find it's fine. You're very unlikely to make a serious mistake. You're unlikely to break your website completely, and you can probably figure it out if you do. But then if you do worry about it that much, then yeah, maybe make a spare, just play with that one to see. You will always have, Suzanne says in the States, they're a bit more legal about having opt-in and unsubscribe. There's no legal requirement in the States either to have a double opt-in. You can put it in if you want to, but there's no law that says you have to. Any email provider will automatically put an unsubscribe link in every email because that is a legal requirement. So that bit you don't have to worry about, no. The GDPR stuff only matters for people who are visiting your site from the EU, sadly. And it seems in not too very much longer I won't be in the EU anymore. Like I said, it's up to you how you want to deal with that. Even if you're in the US and you have a site that's in the US, it's basically open to the world. You will get people from the EU subscribing. So you need to make your own call about what you do. So you do not have to use the Mailchimp for WordPress plugin. No, you don't. I mean, I've done this the most simple way that you possibly can do it, because this way you can get up and running in about half an hour if you follow the video. And there's not too much technical stuff to deal with. I'm going to deal with uploading plugins and what they can do for you in another webinar. So for this one, I just wanted to give you the most simple way of getting yourself up and running with a sign-up form, a list on your WordPress site, and also to add, if you want to add a giveaway. And I'm going to go into that now. Okay. There is one more thing that I want to set up first, and that's a welcome email when someone signs up. Mailchimp, I think, generates one automatically, which is kind of okay. And it says, you're signed up for this list. I hope you know this person is going to email you now. And if you want to unsubscribe, you know, click this link. I think it sends a default one. But let's have a quick look, and we can set up our own version of it, and that's what we want to do. And where you do that, now this is the automated email, okay? So this is one of the it says campaigns, but what we're doing is we're creating an email. That's all we're doing. It's an email. I mean, you could do all of this stuff. I mean, I guess that's why they call it campaigns, because it's, you know, all of it. But you don't need it. We're just doing an email, okay? It's an automated one. And welcome new subscribers. They have a little thing ready for it here. Okay, so just click on that. Campaign name, welcome message is fine. You know, it's for this list. Just click begin. Now this is going to go out now every day, all day. That's good. We want it to go out immediately. No. Post and action. That all looks fine. Get rid of this. It's a little while since I did this, so I'm a little bit, oh, we don't want two of them. Just the one will be fine. So we're going to design email, and it should give us what we need there. Name your email subject. Now I would put something here. Thanks for joining me. Again, try and make it something friendly, you know. Preview text, I personally don't bother with this. It's what shows if you've got the kind of email where it only shows you a little bit of the email first. It's from Paul, so that's all right. We'll go through to next. I'm not going to use a template. I am just going to have simple text. And then you go into the bit where you can design it. Okay, now Mailchimp, has a funny way of doing this. It gives you a load of example stuff here that you can edit. Okay, and it's not immediately obvious what to do, but this is the email header. Okay, so you need to roll over it and click on this little thing here, and then you can edit it. It's time to design your email. So we'll just put welcome. Thanks for joining me. Save and close. And here, this is a block of text. Now you can put whatever you want in here. It's entirely up to you. You might have a lot of stuff you want to put here. You might want to link to some content on your site. Just say, I'm going to keep this really simple. Thanks for subscribing. Obviously, I would put a little bit more than that. And here again, you can tell people, you can put the same kind of stuff that you put in your thank you page. Let people know what to expect. Now, here is something that I would put here, okay? You can use, this is just an example, you can use any text you like for this. This is the important bit. You're asking someone to contact you. So when they get this welcome email, they can just hit reply and they can get straight in touch with you and tell you something. This is a massive opportunity for you to start to build a relationship with someone. So don't just say, you're all signed up, great, I'm going to send you some emails. Ask them something, okay, that's tailored to the kind of thing you want to know, which is going to help you build a relationship with them and serve them better. So it might be, I typically use something like this. Say someone had just filled in my the form on my site for my 6-part colour course. Simple question. And that immediately will get people emailing you. Now, I'm not always very good at answering the emails, as you probably know if you've ever emailed me. I get so much email now because I always do this with everything I put out there. Sometimes it becomes difficult to keep up with them. But the stuff that you know can guide the future. The stuff that you learn from this can guide the future direction of your blog. So it very much depends on what kind of thing you're giving them. It's like, what do you struggle most with when you're at the easel? It could be something like that. Save and close, but ask them a question. Just hit reply and let me know. Tell them what to do. You know, I want you to get in touch with me and tell me something about yourself. This is really, really important, okay? So we've saved it. Save and continue. Okay, so that's done now, all right? So if I subscribe now, ready to send. Let's just make sure. Oh, sorry, I'll need to do something here. You notice here it says trigger 1 day after they join the list. We don't want that. I thought I'd missed something. Where's the trigger again? Tell me where the trigger is. Sometimes it's a bit difficult to find stuff in Mailchimp. I want this to go out immediately, you know. Yes, we've already done this. Hopefully it won't lose my text. You can change some of this stuff if you want to. I'm not too bothered with that. Where is the trigger? There is a trigger that you can set up for this. I just can't remember where it is. Here we go. Schedule. Let's try changing this. It may be in here. Every day. What time should the emails be sent? As soon as possible. No, that's all right. Save schedule. Somewhere in here we can change. Here we go. Sorry, you were probably already looking at that. Trigger. We don't want it to be that. We want it to go out immediately. Okay. Update trigger. Now we're done. Now we're done. Immediately after subscribers join your list. Okay, so that's cool. And then click Start Sending. That doesn't mean it's actually going to send. That just means you've set it up to send. Okay, that's all you've done there. So what I'm going to do now is I should have, because I just subscribed, I've now got 2 subscribers on here. Okay. I want to see my subscribers. Here we go. So I'm going to take this one out for now. Mailchimp asks you to confirm everything twice. Now the reason I've done that is so I can sign up again and we can test out what happens when I sign up now, okay? We don't need that. So I'll try that again. Paul at This is just a test email that I'm using for stuff. So you could use a Gmail or anything here, subscribe. So it's taken me to the thank you page, and what should happen at some point, hopefully, it should happen quite straight away, but sometimes it takes a little while to get through. We don't want that one. In a little while, I should have, if everything is set up right, an email should come in here, just to say, oh, that email that we set up should come in, and we should be ready to go. So I think that's, again, now you've got, in little stages, I'm trying to kind of take you through each bit of setting up the basics of Mailchimp, okay? So now you've got a list set up in Mailchimp. You've got a subscription form in the sidebar of your website. You've got a subscribe page added to your email, and you've got an automatic email that goes out when someone subscribes to your list. Okay. And did I say the thank you page? And you've got a nice thank you as well. So in the States, they're a bit more. Oh no, we've done that one. So it says, so you do not have to use the Mailchimp. Oh no, we've already covered that one. Okay. Yeah, I'm hoping that usually there's a lot more questions than this. I'm hoping it's because I'm explaining everything very well, so it's making it very clear. So what we've done so far out of all of this stuff, we've set up the list, we've set up a form and embedded it on our website. We've basically made one kind of campaign. This kind, the automatic, okay, something that just happens when something is triggered. So someone signs up, fills in the form, they join to the list, and immediately this automatic email gets sent, okay. The next thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to create a manual one. Okay, you're hungry, yeah. We're coming to the end actually now. We were, ooh, homemade buttermilk blueberry pancakes. Susan, I've already had my dinner, but you're making me hungry. I'm going to show you just a couple more things that I still want to show you, okay? In here, let's make a new campaign, which is, we're just making an email. It's the same old thing. We're going to go create campaign. Let's say that you've just put up, we're going to email again. Let's say that you've just put up a blog post and you want to send an email out. That looks like it's the, that's my automated email has just come through. Campaign name. Now, what I would usually use is the title of the blog post here, okay? Because you will do a different one. You want this to just set to regular, okay? We're going to send it to the list. We only have the one list, so that's the one it's going to go to everybody on the list, okay? Now, if you've got names, you can check that, but I only pick up emails, so I would just do that and click save, okay? The subject line is next. This is quite nice, the little workflow that it takes you through. They have put some effort into making this as simple as they can. New blog post, interesting stuff. Now this is actually really important, the subject line, because it's like the blog post. Like I was saying, the title of your blog post is the most important part of the post. The subject line of your email is the most important thing. You want to have something in here that creates some kind of curiosity that makes people want to click. Obviously that's not, but this is just an example. Okay, so for the content, we'll go in here. It'll probably ask us if we want a template, which we don't. Just go through to text. Again, if you've set up a template, or you can use any of those existing ones, personally, I think they're a nightmare. It's a really good way to start to get into trouble. We're going to follow the same steps here. Never write new blog post, okay? Make it something much more interesting than that. Have a look, if you want to see some examples, have a look at the ones that I send out. And in here you can just write whatever you want. Now I usually write a little bit about what the blog post is about, try and create a little bit more curiosity here. And if you want to add a link, let's say this is the post, example post, okay? I'll just copy the URL and pop it in. Now, hopefully, I think that should become a link, and without me having to do anything to it. Let's just check. we need to put it in. I'll post it in there. Insert. Now it's a link. Yeah, now it's a link. So that was just this option here. Save and close. Leave all the rest of stuff done. Like all of this stuff at the bottom, you can just leave if you want to. But you can also edit that stuff if you want to. So everything is done. Now this is quite a useful thing. You can click that, put in an email address, and it will send a test so you can actually see what it looks like before it comes. That's a very useful little feature. Social stuff you can do as well if you want to, but I don't think there's much point in putting those in really. And then send it. And that's going to go to both of the contacts on my list, one of which is me, and the other one is actually another email address of mine. This is going to go to everybody on your list. Look at this. They've had this forever, and it really makes me laugh. I love this. Send it now, and it will high five us. High five. Yeah, we're done. Okay. So now we have just sent our first broadcast. Cool. Now at this stage, we've done almost everything you would want to do. There's one last thing that you're going to want to do right at the beginning that I would recommend you do as someone who's starting to market themselves online, and that's to have a giveaway. Now I'm going to go into a lot more detail in future webinars on what these can be. I'm going to show you a way that you can really simply set one up, okay, in a second. Let me just make sure that I haven't missed any comments yet. Yeah, no, I think we're okay. Oh, Tracy, is there a way to automate the process so that subscribers get an email automatically when I create a new blog post? Not as far as I'm aware. There might be, but it's as easy to make a manual one. And the thing about doing it manually is that you can actually enter whatever text you want in the email itself. I know, big man, yeah. Jujo Cat woken up. What did you think of the webinar? Was it useful? He thinks it was all right, but he just wants a pat. So yeah, that I would always do it manually, because for each one, you want to craft a subject line, you want to craft the text, you want to put the links in to try and get people to come through back to your site, because that's all about the building a relationship part of it. So I wouldn't automate it. You may be able to. Yeah, my email just went to a total of one person. Segments and groups. I'm not planning to go into that at the moment because I don't think it really matters to you at an early stage. But if enough people ask for it, yeah. What I would do, Gene, if you want to put in something in the Threads Facebook group and say, is anyone interested in learning about segmenting and groups in Mailchimp? And if enough people are interested, then it'll go into the my planned future webinars. I have a list of things that I'm planning to cover. At the moment, I think that's probably going a bit deeper than most people want to go. I want to get everybody to a point where they've got a website up and they've got an email list and the basics are working. The most important thing after that is the content generation, which is what I'm going to move on to next for the next few webinars, but certainly we could at some point. Cool, okay. So the last thing I want to show you is a really, really simple way of setting up a giveaway. Now this is so easy, it's not true. You might think that this stuff is really, really difficult. It really doesn't have to be. This is the most simple possible way that you can set up something, give someone something in order in return for signing up. Okay, so I'm going to take you through that now. Actually, before I do that, I will take you to my email, because my two emails have come in. Firstly, here's the automated thing that the autoresponder has come out. Welcome, thanks for joining me. Thanks. Since you're here, would you mind answering a quick question? So people can just hit reply, write whatever they want in there, blah, 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 send it off to you, and immediately you started to build a relationship. That is absolutely key. Okay, you really want that in there. And then I've got my new blog post with this in there, with the link through to the blog post. Okay, really simple. So those are the two main types of emails that you really want to create at the start. So let's go, first we want to go back to the website. Okay, let's go to the dashboard on the website. Now what I want is I want something to appear here above this sign-up form to say I've got something really special for you, okay? Now the way I can do that is if I go back into Appearance and then Widgets, remember this is where you put the form in, okay? Now this is the sidebar area. I can put anything I want here, okay? So let's say I grab a text widget. You could use another HTML one or a text widget, and you can change the ordering of them just by whether you move it up or down. I'm going to put it above. Your free guide to whatever it might happen to be. Free guide to glazing. Tell people what you want them to do here. Enter your email address below and I'll send you a free guide to glazing. And save it. Okay. And then what we have now, it pops up here. And it all looks like it's part of the same thing because it's just there in the sidebar. And you can edit this however you like. You can put a little image in as well, which is really handy. If this was going to be like a glazing guide, and I would have a little image with a brush on it of someone putting a glaze on or something like that. Whatever it happens to be, images are really catchy. I've removed everything else from the sidebar as well, and that's really key because I just want people to be seeing this here. Now, what would happen though? How do you get this thing to people? There's two ways you can do it. You can either go into Mailchimp and you can edit your welcome email to have a link to whatever it is that you're offering them to download, or you can do it here. Okay, so let's go into edit page. So this is the thank you page, remember? Let's go back into the visual editor. So instead of this, we could put make a new block. Click this link to download your free glazing guide. And now we want here, we would want a link to something. Okay. Now what you can do there, are we in code editor? Didn't mean to do that. Are we in code editor? We're in visual editor. Where's the visual thing? You occasionally get thrown a bit by WordPress's new thing. We can put a link in here. Now what you would need to do first, say it was a PDF. The easiest way to do this is to make a PDF, okay? Or you could even do it with a Word doc. The most important thing is you're getting useful stuff to people. So you can add a link in here, okay? Now what I would do to get something in there is in your media library here. You're going to add new. You can upload a PDF, okay? So you could just select a PDF or a Word doc, whatever it was that you've made, and you can upload it there, and it will appear in your media library, and you can click on it just like you can one of these. And here is the link to it. So assume that this is not an image, but it's a PDF guide, say. Click here to download. I can highlight that, make it into a link, paste in. Now that's obviously at the moment, that's just going to download the image, but that's a really easy way to then move that block up to the top, I think. Oh, has an error and can't be previewed. I'm not sure why that is. Talking and coding at the same time, but it has appeared here anyway. Click this link to download your free glazing guide. So this is just the thank you page. So if someone signed up, they would be automatically taken to this page. So if they'd seen first the blog post with the little stuff at the top about download my free guide or whatever it is that you want to give people, that's the most simple way that you can do it, just using what's already within WordPress. No extra plugins, nothing. Really, really simple, no coding to do, just the basic stuff that you would ordinarily do within WordPress. And you've actually got yourself at that point. You've got your WordPress blog is up, you've got a subscription form, you've got a list, you've got a thank you page, you've got a welcome email, you know, or you're starting to build a relationship. You can see all of these touch points where you're starting to build a relationship with someone. And then you've got a really, really simple way to give someone something for free. And that thing to download can be anything you like, you know. So have a go at this. Have a think about what you might want to have as your download. I'm going to be doing at least one webinar, probably more, on the giveaway that you have for people to encourage them to sign up to your list, because that is the most important part of your site. Your site exists in order to build your audience, okay? So there's a lot of different things you can do for that. You can have a series of automatic emails that go out, as I do on my site, when someone signs up. You can have a guide. There's all kinds of things that you can do. But you really, just saying subscribe for updates is rarely enough. You won't get many people subscribing with that. So let me have a quick look at the comments. Yeah, Marilyn, you could have a segment where you had one was artists and one was collectors. I can tell you that for my audience, they're one and the same thing. I have had some people buy more than one painting from me, but they're always artists. So everybody who buys from me is an artist themselves, and they've usually followed me for quite a while on my blog, you know, and picked up some painting tips and then thought, you know what, I'm going to buy one of his paintings as well. I think it's good to get used to thinking about, for this stuff that we're doing, the audience that you have is likely to be other artists, you know, and you might be surprised. I know a lot of artists think, well, artists don't have any money. I don't just mean artists who work for a living and who make their work and put it in galleries. A lot of those artists don't have very much money and probably don't buy that much work. But I mean artists in the broadest sense, and there's a lot of people who have an interest in art, who do have some disposable income, who might not do it for a living, but are very happy to buy other artists' work. But yeah, you could segment that way if you wanted to. But personally, I've found that's not a segment that I would use. I tag people in ConvertKit by which form they signed up for, if they've been to a webinar, then I know about that. I know which webinars they've been to. If they signed up for the colour course, I want to know about that, because I want to make sure if I send out an email where I'm offering people the colour course, I want to make sure that I don't send it to people who've already done it, you know, because that won't be so great for them. So stuff like that is good, and that's also much easier to do in ConvertKit, but it can be done in Mailchimp, okay? So Tracy says, thanks for helping us keep it simple. That's entirely what I want to do. It's the most important thing when you're at the start with this stuff. It can get really complicated really, really fast, which is why I stress using a basic theme. Don't get too excited about the look of it. Setting up the Mailchimp side of things, make it as simple as possible. The important thing is the functionality. Don't get too hung up on how it looks. As long as it works and it looks all right, that's the main thing at this point, right? The most important thing is your content and your giveaway. That's the stuff you need to really be worrying about and thinking about, okay? So thank you page and yeah, really, they're absolutely key. The thank you page and the welcome email, most important things. Thanks, Cindy. Okay, so I think we're pretty much done for today. I've covered everything. Let me just have a quick check. Yep, covered everything I wanted to check for today. This will be appearing in your Threads dashboard within the next couple of days if you want to review it. Obviously, there was a lot of technical stuff that was covered today. So you can either download the email or you can watch it, pause it as you go through. Just set up that basic stuff and find out how this stuff works. Remember, this is a really simple way to think about Mailchimp. You get in there and there's so many options, and they're called things that don't make any sense to us for what we're doing. All you need to worry about is you've got a form which adds people to your list, and once people are on your list, you will send them an email. Call it a campaign if you like, it's actually an email. And the two types are automatic and the manual ones that you do for a blog post. Do that, and you're doing 99% of online marketing better than most people who have a website, I guarantee you. Give people a reason to sign up here, and this stuff will all work really well, okay? Thanks very much for coming, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye.